Hello, everyone. Zainab, I can see your video, so can you hear me? Can you just let me know? Yeah? Okay, perfect. Thanks. Nice to get that easy feedback. Janalee, hi. So good to see you. Janalee is one of my students, but also one of my friends. I met her at a co-working space here in Toronto. So that's fun. Always nice to see you around. Okay, let's give a minute. Let me know when you're joining. Buenas tardes to you too, Dawn. I don't know what that means. Maybe good afternoon. um, you guys are not nodding. Yeah, did I get it? I know almost zero Spanish, and I'm moving to Mexico in a couple days, but that's okay. We'll learn. Um, Let me know in the comments what if you had any big takeaways from yesterday, if you watched it, if you had any like aha moments with any of the gates, were there any gates that you were particularly like, oh, I didn't think of it like that, or like, or if it was all new to you, like let me know where you're at and how yesterday went. Because I know it is a lot. I teach this information usually over a long period of time, as my HD school students know. And obviously, I'm not going into super depth with all the gates. We only have a limited amount of time. But yeah, there's so much information to take in, 100%. Heidi, hi. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in so long. um, okay, awesome. Okay, so let's get started. We have less gates to cover today, so it won't be too long. I need to keep it actually to an hour because I have an appointment afterwards. So let's see what everyone's saying. Yeah, so many insights, especially with gates 1 and 8. Very cool. Yes, the contribution of just being is enough. Absolutely. Um, some gates you don't have it sound like me. Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I want to touch on is that we all have all of the gates. We all have the entire body graph. We might not have it defined, so we might not have it consistently, but we do still have access to all of the energy. And perhaps someone in your life has that energy, so you take it in and you amplify it sometimes so you can relate to it. Also, there's definitely gates that have similarities or channels that have similarities or other aspects of your design that have similarities. Um, so the way that I really look at human design is thematically, and I like to look for sort of repeating themes. So sort of the way I teach it in HD school and also how I like to look at it is looking for themes in across all the things. So there's um, to give a sort of quick example, I guess, let's say projectors, there's a theme with projectors of being able to see people and correct them, right? It's like projectors can see, they can manage well, and they want, like, oh, you should do this differently and this should change. So that can be a similar energy to the gate 17 of having opinions. It can be a similar energy to the gate 18 of having corrections. The 1858 channel is like that. The right angle cross of service is like that. So there's definitely themes that you'll find in the gates that you might relate to because it might be similar to another one, like the gate 36 and the gate 16 have similarities. And so just stuff like that. And like I said, it could be that someone in your life has this gate that you're taking in and you're amplifying, or you might have the opposite for it. So let's say you have the gate, I don't know, 16, because we were just talking about that, or yeah, whatever. You might relate to the gate 48 because it's the opposite of what you have. And in that case, that's conditioning, and we don't necessarily want to relate too much to that, but I won't get too much into this. Okay, let's see what everyone else is saying. All my gates so far is about waiting for an invitation to share. Yep, totally. That's a big theme. There's a lot of projected gates in human design, and waiting for right timing is a really big part. Takeaways, I love human design. I love it. Mind blowing, so many gates made sense. 61, it makes sense why I just start rambling to my one roommate because she has 24. Totally. It's so funny to see how these things, how these connections work for us. I need more space for notes. I know I wasn't sure how much to add. So I can always add more in for next time if I do this next time. Nikki, you can't join HD school anytime, but there will be an intake soon, probably next week. But I'm still waiting out how I feel about things just with the move to Mexico and all that. But okay, cool. So thank you all for being here. Let's get started. I'm going to quickly share my screen so we can go through some of the what am I trying to say? Circuitry stuff, right? So yesterday we talked about all of the gates in the individual circuitry. So this sort of purple one here. And today we're going to be talking about all of the tribal circuitry gates. So this one here, there's a lot less in the tribal circuitry, which is then interesting because if you happen to be someone who has a lot of tribal gates or a lot of tribal circuitry, I actually have more tribal gates in my design than anything else, which is really uncommon because there's less tribal gates. So when we get through the end of this, if you're like, oh, I have more tribal gates than anything else too, let me know so I can meet some other people that are like me. um, I often joke with tribal energy, like because I have so much tribal energy gates, anyways, I have an individual channel and a tribal channel, which we'll talk in day 4. But I joke that's why I'm no fun. I'm like so serious all the time because of the tribal stuff. And that's not entirely true. I'm fun sometimes, but starting with that, the tribe is not fun. The keynote for the tribe is support. It's all about supporting people. So all of the channels in the circuitry have to do with supporting the other. And when we talk about tribes here, we're really talking about family, we're talking about community, about neighborhoods, about coworkers, even like companies can have tribes, and it's all about taking care of each other, managing and taking care of the material resources, making sure that we have the resources that we need. It's about values and it's about reproduction. So it's really when you think of tribal energy, of like, what does a tribe need to survive? We need resources, we need values that we pass on, we need people to pass on the values to. So we need reproduction, we need food, we need education, we need clothing, shelter, safety, all of these things, right? So these are all really a big part of the tribal energies. The tribe is really designed to take care of others, especially when it comes to having enough resources. And there's a big part of kind of exchange that happens within the tribe where it's like, okay, I'll take care of the children if you go out and earn money, or I'll take care of, the education if you take care of the food, right? So there's a lot of this sort of idea of exchange and managing resources so that we can all kind of grow and I would say thrive, but the tribe really is about survival. That's a big part of it. And the support, so like I said, the keynote, which is a human design term, but the keynote of the tribal circuitry is support, but it's not asked for, it's really demanded. And again, we'll talk about this more in day 4, because this is one of the things that creates a lot of challenges for the individual people. So all the people that we talked about yesterday that have a lot of individual gates or individual channels. Okay, so resources are the foundation of the tribe. The tribe survives only if it has resources. If there's no resources, the tribe dies out. And tribal people are also very driven to make money for survival. So sometimes tribal people will feel like they're very material. They're very driven by material things. And again, the underlying foundation of that is generally safety, it's success. Whereas the material aspects of the individuality, let's say, might be more of expression and like doing something interesting and trying something different. That's not where tribal people are spending their money and resources. They want that foundation. And whenever I talk about like tribal people do this or individual people do that, these are all kind of, generalizations. And there's so many nuances to each individual design because you're not going to be only tribal. You're not going to be only individual, right? So there's a theme here of nurturing the young, educating them so that they can then grow up and gain resources. It's about shelter and safety. And so both physically, but also in the community sense, where when you have good relationships within your community, on Instagram, I posted about the 3740 channel today, and that's really about creating good communities and strong communities. And agreements are a big part of tribal energy, especially in the 1949 channel and the 3740. And it's kind of this idea where it's like, you're in my tribe, so I'll support you, but the tribe demands loyalty. And agreements are a big part of this. Resource allocation and management. So who's getting what food, who's getting what property, who's getting what money, formal agreements like marriage, divorce, business, religions, all of this stuff lives in tribal energy, as well as the unspoken agreements. So what's appropriate in your family. It's like things that you will or won't do in front of your parents or your grandparents, things in your community that you would never do, or things that are expected of you in your community, right? All of these kind of agreements are in the tribe as well, as are sex and reproduction. And the tribal energy, it's sort of like how do I want to put this? Like, I don't know, it's like the unsexy version of sexual energy because it's like sex for a purpose. It's sex for reproduction. It's not for fun, not in the tribe. Other energy in human design has that, but the tribal energy, not so much. And so when we talk about sex and reproduction, we're really talking about the whole process of it that leads up to having children because the tribe wants to grow the tribe and maintain the tribe. So it needs children, it needs, you know, new members essentially. It needs to replace the people, right? And no, I'll talk to that later. Never mind. War, peace, and defense. This is also part of it. So we will go to war to protect our people and our resources. And again, the tribe, like I said, it's very personal. They take things very personally and it's very serious. It's not like a lighthearted, like, I think so many of the channels or so many of the gates in the individual circuitry have a lot of lightheartedness to them. And they also have that kind of darkness with the melancholy that we talked about. But the tribe is not lighthearted. The tribe is serious, right? And then not to say that you're serious all the time, but the energy of the tribe is. Okay, so that's tribal energy in a nutshell. So we'll start off with the gates, and we're going to start off with gate 59. So, oh, let me just pull up something. I forgot to pull up my notes before this. And something I always like to talk about with my HD school students as well, especially when you're doing readings or whatever, is like it's okay to use notes. There's a lot of information that we cover. I know pretty much all of this off the top of my head at this point because I talk about it so much. But especially when I want to go into certain details or I want to make sure I'm not missing something, because I often find that I sort of hone in on one particular aspect of something. And if I don't go back and check over my notes, I'll get too zeroed in on this one sort of slice of the whole. So just something interesting to share about. So like I said, I will be using notes. And okay, so I just want to share this quickly. I'm gonna try to do this today instead of using my iPad, but I like to see all of your faces, so I don't like to have the screen up for too long. So you should be able to see this. This is gate 59 up here on the sacral. So that's the gate that we're going to be talking about first. So I'm going to be toggling back and forth between this. So when I talk to you, I can see your lovely faces. So gate 59 is called the gate of sexuality often. And sometimes people hear this and they're really confused because they don't necessarily relate to being a very sexual person, or they think it's a weird energy for them to have. So this energy doesn't necessarily mean that the person is sexual or they will have lots of children or anything. I mentioned yesterday how gates are often thematic. So it's something that is really present or it really is not present. So you might be completely opposed to having children if you have this. But even beyond that, the gate 59 is about so much more than sexuality. I like to look at it as this energy around creation. So it's like you're bringing things into the world. Those things might be children. Those things might be art. Those things might be businesses. The things might be movements. It could be anything, right? So, but it's this energy of like this creation energy, this fertile energy. So it's not just about sexuality with this gate, because I know sometimes people see that and they're like, ooh, but there's a lot more about this. What this energy does require is sustainability, because it's this idea that you don't get a break from raising children. I don't have kids, but I think most parents can agree that once you have them, like you're in it, you can't just be like, I feel like taking time off. And so that's the idea with the creations of the gate 59 as well, whether it's a business, whether it's, a movement that you're starting, whether it's some sort of organization, whatever, it's like it requires sustainability. Now, that doesn't mean you can never take a break from your business. Obviously you can set up structures so that you can rest and take care of yourself. But part of gate 59 is about sustainability. Going back to the sexual side of things, and this is true for everybody, but especially with this gate, your sexual expression, if you have this on a defined sacral center, so if your sacral center is colored in red, it might not be red depending on where you get your chart from, but if it's colored in, it's often a lot more consistent. So it's like, what you like this kind of stuff. Whereas if it's an open center or an undefined center, you usually have a lot more variability in what you're interested in, or you can be a lot more influenced by your partners or the energy around you. This energy is also one that is more interested in sort of this deep intimacy. So it's not really casual sex energy because this is the result of all of the things after that, including having children and raising them and clothing them and providing for them, right? So it's a lot. Um, some of the challenges when we look at this gate is that it equates providing resources with love. So when we look at kind of typical masculine and feminine characteristics, the gate 59 is masculine, where it's the provider, it's the breadwinner, right? So it's going to have this child or this, it's going to create this creation, whatever it is, and then it needs to support it. So it needs to provide the resources. So this gate is very much one that's going to provide resources, and it feels like that is love. So sometimes in relationships, it's interesting because the person who has this gate, they often are the one who is the breadwinner and who is bringing money into the relationship. Not that the other person can't, but they often do. And to them, that's love. So when their partner's like, you're never around, you never spend time with me, I don't even know if you love me, you're never here. And they're like, what are you talking about? I work my butt off 6 days a week, 7 days a week sometimes because I love you so much, because I'm providing for you, right? And the other one's like, but they're always at work. They don't even care about me. But the gate 59 is like, I care so much about you that I am always at work, right? So just different ways of seeing that. Um, this can be sometimes a challenging energy. Like I said, it's sort of archetypically that masculine energy. And if you don't identify as like a masculine energy person, or you're a woman or whatever, not that women can't be masculine, but it can be difficult in traditional relationship structures for women to have this, especially if they're with a man who is more on the traditional side, or they're with a masculine person that's more on the traditional side, because this is like more of a masculine energy. It is more of the provider. It's not always very caring and very nurturing like some people expect women to be. And I really see us as moving away from a lot of these traditional gender roles or masculine, feminine kind of archetypes, which I think is really cool. And it's part of the whole 2027 evolution that's happening in human design, which maybe I'll talk about at some point in the future, not now. But I think it's really interesting to see all that shifting. And this this gate, the 59, can also struggle to sustain resources or to support its creations. So just like it can be great at it, it can also struggle with it. So it can go both ways. It's designed, I would say, to be better at it, but sometimes we have challenges that we need to overcome with these energies. So in the high expression, this is a gate that can really create and provide for its creation, so it can thrive. It can create the right intimacy and relationships for you. This is where, especially if you have a sacral defined, making sure that you're responding to people and that like relationships are like a heck yes for you. And you're not like, well, I don't know, I think they're a good person. Like maybe it would be smart because like, no, don't take it from the divorce lady here. Okay. Don't do that. So knowing the other high expression, knowing that the right creations are designed to be provided for and abundantly supported, intentionally entering into relationships with respect and trusting your strategy and authority will really help you understand when it's the right time to bring something into the world. So that's a gate 59. Okay, so then if we look at the next gate, which is 6, oh my gosh, where did everything go? There we go. So if we look at that, we have the gate 6, which is over here on the emotional solar plexus. And the 6 is one of those ones that I think people often have mixed feelings about when they see the name, because they're like, what? The gate of friction, or the gate of, I forget what other people call it. Anyways, nothing's coming to mind right now. If you know what else people call gate 6, but it's often this idea of like friction or conflict. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, people often say it's a gate of friction or the gate of conflict. And so people see that in their design and they're like, oh, this is not a good thing. Like, I have the gate of conflict. I don't know how I feel about this. Why am I supposed to just be like fighting people all the time? And yes and no. Mostly no, though. So this is a design that's really designed to create friction and to build resonance or conflict with a goal of creating intimacy or not. So the conflict serves a purpose, right? And the friction, if you imagine like building a fire, right? Or that like friction that builds up to build heat. It's like friction is a good thing. Friction isn't a bad thing. It helps us to build heat. It helps us to grow. It helps us to, think of it being the opposite of gate 59 of building that sexual tension or that sexual friction. Like that's not a bad thing, right? And so it's not a bad energy. And sometimes people look at it and they're like, oh no. Um, Sometimes this energy can be really defensive. It can be really emotional. If you have the gate 6, likely your emotions are very impactful on other people, especially if you have the emotional solar plexus defined, of course. And this is one of the gates that they call an aura busting energy. Technically, the 59 is as well, but the gate 6 is something that you feel it a little bit more because it gets into people and it can really influence people either to create more friction or to resolve it. So, this is an energy that can really get into people. It also is really interesting because it represents a boundary between like what can get in and what can't. So again, that conflict and that friction serves a purpose of like what gets into your energy, what gets into your life, what gets into your body physically, and what doesn't. So it's very much of a boundary in that sense. And the conflict again serves a purpose of creating that boundary. It also is the energy that's there for war, for attacking others when necessary. Like it's not just let's do it for fun because we want to terrorize someone, but it's like our tribe is threatened, our livelihood is threatened, our shelter is threatened, our safety is threatened, so we're going to attack. So this has that energy of war, of conflict, of fighting, of aggression. It doesn't often present that way, but I mean, it definitely is there. Um, I certainly can be a very defensive person at times. I have the gate 6. I've learned to work with it a lot, but it's something that like it's really quickly activated. So if you have this and you find that you get really defensive, just like calm down. People aren't threatening your life, probably, right? So, I mean, don't calm down if it's not the situation. But generally speaking, this tribal energy as a whole, like I said, it's very personal. It takes everything as life or death. It's very serious. And so this is why people who have this can often be so quick to be aggressive or to be defensive because it's like any sort of little attack feels like a threat to their life and like it's really not. So shifting your perspective on that is something that is a game changer for sure. So some of the challenges, all of that, like I just said about being really defensive, there's often a fear of intimacy. And I think it's in the definitive book of human design, they say a fear of revealing who you really are, which I think is quite interesting. When I read that, I was like, ooh, that's definitely something that I've struggled with in my life of like really allowing myself to be who I am and not even for other people to see, but just like for me to even see, you know? Um, it can create a lot of chaos, drama, war, you know, it can create fights for no reason. And sometimes this one also presents as being overly sexual, which can be really uncomfortable for both the person who has the gate 6 and whoever is experiencing the other end of that energy. And it can also sometimes use sex to manipulate in a way that really doesn't respect you or the other person. So, you know, some of the challenges that can be there for sure. In the high expression, it knows the balance of when it's time to increase friction. So, you know, when it's time to create the conflict because it's necessary and when it's time to settle in. And it's aware of its emotional energy and the impact it has on the people around it. It uses its influence for the greater good of the tribe, honors your strategy and authority in everything that you do, especially here if you have emotional authority. So if you have the whole channel or if you have emotional authority otherwise, and it has clear boundaries. So when the situation is right, the boundaries open up and intimacy can be created. But when it's not, it doesn't. So it's like, don't force intimacy when it's not there because if gate 6 is protecting you, right? It can sense that something's not really right. They can also be great sources of mediation, resolution, and peace. So it's not all conflict and war with this gate. Okay, so our next gate, we're going to go to gate 27. So over here on the other side of the sacral center. So gate 27. And the gate 27 is a gate of caring or nurturing. Sometimes it's nicknamed as the Mother Teresa gate. So if we were looking at the gate 59 as the sort of archetypically masculine gate, the gate 27 is the archetypically, oh my God, that was a mouthful, archetypically feminine gate. So this isn't one that's really designed to care for its tribe, to provide nourishment. It's one of the big themes with this, and one of the big things to watch out for with this is the whole idea of like, if you give someone a fish, you feed them for the day. If you teach someone to fish, you feed them for a lifetime, right? That is like the energy of this gate in a nutshell. And one of the big challenges with this gate is it wants to just give people the fish. And it doesn't just want to give them the fish, it wants to cook the fish for them too. So it takes too much responsibility for other people. It's overly nurturing often, but really this is an energy that's caring, it's compassionate, it's altruistic, and it is here to care for others, but it can be tricky, and I'll get to that in a second. This is also an aura busting energy, meaning that it gets into other people's auras and it will influence you to behave or to care. So around certain people, you are going to like snap into line and follow the rules of their household, where it's like other people, you're like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous, whatever. But this is one that really helps people to behave. Um, and really that sort of archetypical like mama bear energy, where it's like it will care for people like so fiercely and make sure that you are going to survive, that you have what you need. Now with that, some of the challenges here is that, like I said, you are overly caring or you are caring indiscriminately. So you're sort of letting your care go to waste, or it's not being appreciated, or you're overstepping your boundaries with caring. And like I said, it's that Catherine, yes, yes, maybe a little bit. Um, so you're giving too much, you're not taking care of yourself, you're giving to your own detriment. And like I said, with that, like giving a man to fish thing, it's like you need to teach them to fish. That's what this is here for. It's like care for them, teach them the skills that they need to survive, teach them the values that are there for them, and then let them go on and do it. And one of the things that often people don't realize, I think, with this energy is when you continually fish for the person or cook the fish for that person and don't let them learn how to do it on their own and don't trust them to do it on their own, is that you are you're selling them short, right? It's like you're enabling them to be smaller, lesser versions of themselves. Because the more you decide that you need to cook and provide for this person, it's like you're essentially telling them, I don't think you can do it. I don't trust that you can do it. I don't think you have the skills. I don't think you have the ability. And that's not very nice, right? And now, I don't think it comes from that place. It's not like you think you're doing that intentionally, but often that energy is really there. Yeah, codependence for sure. Um, Often these people want more for someone than that person wants for themselves. So again, knowing your boundaries with caring, not being overly responsible. So that's another challenge with this energy, and often can be someone who feels guilt and is apologizing for everything. So again, codependency. This is especially tricky if you have an open solar plexus, if you have an open heart, if you have gate 29, and if you have gate 10. All of these kind of come together to be more codependent, more overly caring in a way that is not really respectful of your own energy. In the high expression, this gate cares deeply while having clear boundaries of what is and isn't your responsibility. You nourish yourself optimally so you can set an example for others. You provide nourishment, compassion, education so that others can continue to nourish themselves and to thrive. And you really empower others to care for and sustain themselves and their tribe. Because again, this is tribal energy. So it's all about caring for the tribe, right? Okay, so that's gate 28. The next one that we're going to look at is gate 50. So this is over here on the spleen. The gate 50 is the gate of guilt, or the gate of responsibility, or the gate of values, or the cauldron. So many different names here. So when we're looking at the gate 50, again, it's often called the gate of responsibility or guilt, or values for that matter. So we have a few different ways of looking at it. But this is a gate that's really designed to transmit the values of the tribe, right? So the 27 on the other side of this does like the caring and the nurturing, and this is the one that's sharing the values of like what our tribe does, what are the rules of the tribe, what are the values of the tribe, what do we do, what's important to us. It is very much about love. It's like the taking care of love and responsibility, and this is often a gate that equates cooking with love. So these are often people who like to cook for other people, to provide for other people in that way. The 27 can as well, but this is more about the gate 50. It can be a very conservative or a very traditional energy. It likes to keep things as they are. It wants to maintain stability, where it's like, this has kept us alive so far. Let's just keep doing the same thing. It can be really powerful when there's something that they need sort of doing. And it's designed to create tribal laws also. So again, this idea of values, tribal laws, morals, what we do, like what your tribe does, what your community does, what your family does. Also, aura busting. So again, you will obey the tribe when you're around this person. You will obey these sort of tribal rules, or you won't and you'll leave, right? Um, we're on gate 50, and it can really influence you to care for the tribe. There is influence here because this is a splenic gate. So it's, sorry, influence, did I say? Intuition here, because it's a splenic gate, to know what is right, what is fair, what is just. So these are people that can be really natural law makers. And it's also, it can be about transmitting these sort of spiritual or universal laws as well. When we look at the challenges, because all of the gates of the spleen, like I said, spleen, solar plexus, and ajna have fears associated with them. So the challenge here is often the fear of responsibility. Usually what that looks like is taking on too much responsibility, feeling responsible for everything, and then feeling guilty because you can't do everything. And you always feel like people are guilt tripping you and you're not doing enough. So often it shows as a fear of failing its responsibilities. Occasionally it's a fear of taking on responsibilities. So it's like, oh, I don't want to take this job. It's going to be too many responsibilities, or I don't want to have kids. It's too many responsibilities, right? So sometimes it can be that, but often it shows more as guilt. Burning out can be a challenge because you're taking care of everyone else but yourself. Feeling guilty, like I said. Sometimes it can be too harsh where you're not flexible. Like I said, it can be very conservative. So there's no room for growth or for evolving, even when times have changed. And maybe it's time that the tribal rules change as well, right? There's also sometimes a survival mentality here where it's like we do what we need to do in order to survive. Sometimes that serves and sometimes that doesn't. And also really learning to correctly nourish yourself and not just focus everything on everybody else, right? This is kind of like an archetype of the overbearing mother that is so responsible and does so much and doesn't do anything for herself, but is guilt tripping everybody, is always feeling guilty herself. She always feels she's not doing enough. That's the sort of low expression of this energy. In a high expression, these people fairly and justly create and enforce rules that serve the tribe, that serve the group. They intuitively know how to transmit the rules for the tribe with love in a way that people will get. They take care of themselves and they lead by example. They practice and share good nourishment, nutrition, nurturing for themselves and for the tribe. These people can be exceptional chefs and cooks, not always, especially paired with gate 48 often, because 48 has that taste that's important to it. And there's a potential here as well, like I said, although the tribe isn't necessarily associated with the spiritual things, there's a potential for, again, these sort of universal laws or spiritual laws that it can teach and transmit as well. Okay. Oh my gosh, I need to talk faster. Okay. Story of my life. Well, not talk faster, talk less probably is really what I need to be doing. But anyways, so here we are next with the gate 19. I like to call the gate 19 the gate of sensitivity. Sometimes it's called, I don't know, intimacy, other things. I like to call it the gate of sensitivity because it's a very sensitive gate. If you have this gate, you likely at some point in your life have been told that you are too sensitive. And that is not true. You are sensitive, but it doesn't mean you are too sensitive. And the way that I really look at the gate 19 is it's like if everybody has, what do we have? 5 senses? I don't know. It's like you have 9. Okay. So you have extra senses. So you are a sensitive person. And you are a highly sensitive person in the sense that you are sensitive to everything, to energy, to sound, to light frequencies, to vibrations, to all this stuff. So it's like you tune in to frequencies that most of us don't know exist, right? And I just said that about some gates yesterday too, and I can't think of what it was. But anyways, try to stay focused on the tribal things today. Oh, Catherine, yes, I know you're new to human design, but it's cool. So yes, this is someone that's designed to be sensitive, right? It's also designed for intimacy. This gate wants those intimate connections. It wants to be close with people. When you have the gate 19 in a design, it makes everything more sensitive. So you're a more emotionally sensitive, physically sensitive. These are people who, like the fabric like the laundry detergent they use, if they change it, is going to bother them. Like the seams in their shirt bother them sometimes, right? You can be really sensitive to so many different things. It doesn't mean you are going to be sensitive to all these things, but it certainly can show up that way. Gate 19 people really want to belong to a group, to a team, to a family, to a community. They want intimacy and connection. They want to be wanted. And there's pressure to be sensitive to the needs of the tribe. So these are people that are really here to anticipate the needs of others, right? It's like you can sense what other people need often before they even know that they need it. Some of the challenges when we're looking here, again, is the sensitivity. Sometimes the sensitivity can be a lot for people and they just shut it down. There's often judgment or criticism for being too sensitive. They can be needy, codependent. If you know, what's that movie, Wedding Crashers, like the stage 5 clinger, like that can be the gate 19 sometimes, where it's like it really wants that intimacy and it just like latches onto people. Sacrificing your own needs to meet the needs of others, because again, you're sensitive to what other people need, but it doesn't mean that their needs come before your own needs. They can react very negatively to anything that is even potentially critical. So again, very sensitive, right? Sensitive to criticism, especially if you have a lot of line 4, because the 4 energy can be quite sensitive to criticism as well. And breakups and changes in relationships, because this is all about intimacy. So those changes in relationships can be really challenging. There's also potential here for issues with food, eating disorders, allergies, like sensitivities when it comes to that. In the high expression, there's potential to create transformational relationships. These are people that are here to change how we go about creating intimacy. They know what it means to love. They know what it means to be loved. They know what it means to have deep intimacy. When they're tuned into their sensitivity, they can respect it and they can receive guidance that way. And when they share their sensitivity correctly, they can help us sense things that we're not naturally tuned into that may be harming us. And, you know, an example of that is like, let's say, not that I have this gate, but I'm very sensitive to artificial smells. Like some of them drive me insane. Like I cannot think around them. I cannot function around them. And to me, this is similar to what a lot of the gate 19 sensitivity is, because it's like the artificial smells aren't good for us. They might smell good, but they're not good for us. They don't do good things for us. There's a lot of chemicals in there that we don't need. And so sometimes your sensitivity, it's not like, oh, you're so sensitive. Oh my gosh. It's like, no, you know before something is going to happen. Like, you know, those I hope this isn't offensive. You know, those dogs that like sniff when people are going to have like a seizure, or like for like diabetics, that their blood sugar is getting too high, or that like someone's going to have a panic attack or something. Like that's like the sensitivity of this, where it's like you are sensitive to things that other people don't realize. And you're trying to warn people like, hey, this isn't good. We shouldn't be doing this. And they're like, what are you talking about? It's crazy. It's just a candle. It's not problematic. Well, I'm like, maybe it is. Who knows? Right. So anyways, you just have a deeper level of sensitivity. In the high expression, wait, I talked about this. Never mind. On to the next gate. So the next one we're going to look at is the gate 49, which is the gate of, I never remember the name of this one. Hold on, it'll come to me. Where are we looking at? The gate of principles here, the gate 49. So over here in the emotional solar plexus. And so when we're looking at the gate 49, this is an energy that's a very black and white energy. There's not a lot of nuance to the gate 49 energy. So this is, when we think of principles, this gate is designed to uphold its principles, to uphold its rules, to uphold the agreements, to uphold the bargains, etc. when it comes to intimate relationships, right? So the gate 19, right, it's reaching for that intimacy. It's all about those intimate relationships. On the other half is the gate 49. So it's all about upholding principles in these intimate relationships. Like I said, it's a black and white energy. If you break the rules, the intimacy is done. And I have this gate, and it wasn't something that I really identified with a whole lot. I have it unconsciously, mind you. So often the unconscious energies we don't. And I was like, I don't know, I don't really see it. And my partner was like, are you kidding me? He's like, you drop the guillotine on people so quickly. And I was like, what do I? He was like, yeah, like ask your ex-husband. I'm sure he would agree with you. He's like, he did one wrong thing and you picked up and moved back to Canada. And I was like, true. True. But to me, it's like, well, of course I did. He violated the rules. I'm leaving. I'm not sticking around. But a lot of people do. So it's very black and white with that, where it's like when you break the rules at the gate 49, they're done. Like game over, moving on, you're dead to them kind of thing. Um, that being said, the gate 49 needs to also articulate what its principles are. So that's where it can get into trouble sometimes because it has really strong principles. Sometimes it doesn't even have the awareness of it, but it often doesn't communicate it. So having an awareness, especially in relationships, of like, what are your boundaries? What are the things, like, what are the lines that cannot be crossed? They might be really obvious to you, but they might not be so obvious to someone else. So having those conversations, communicating is really important. Um, with this, sometimes it's also called the gate of revolution because if the principles are sufficiently violated, a revolution starts. So when we're looking at violating tribal principles on a whole, right, revolutions happen because it's like, this isn't working, this doesn't work. And the revolution is a last resort when the needs are continuously not being met, right? And so there we're talking about looking at revolutions in countries and in communities, right? Where it's like, this isn't working. These agreements that we have aren't working. The people that we have aren't working. So a revolution happens, but it doesn't happen after like one little thing. It's like over time, these principles are not working, right? These are people that can have very strong boundaries where it's like they know what's needed and what's not. They can also be very sensitive to the gate 19 when it's related to our own principles. Um, it wants intimacy as well, again, as long as the principles or the rules for intimacy are upheld. So as long as the expectations, another way to say it. There is a theme here of food distribution. So when you have enough to eat, you don't have to go to war. So having enough food is a theme here. Having enough resources is a theme here. Um, yeah, let me skip down to the challenges. So when we have the fears here, we're looking at the fear of rejection. And often people with this are people who can act emotionally and not wait for clarity. That can be a challenge. And so, like I said, when it's black and white and that switch gets flipped and you're like, the intimacy is done, the relationship is done, the connection is done. Um, Try to give it some time if you can, especially if it's an emotional reaction. Where it's like, even if you have that feeling of like the guillotine is dropped, this is completely done, sleep on it. See if you feel differently the next day, right? Before you like quit your job or leave your marriage or whatever it is. I mean, I didn't, but hey, something to do for the emotional authority people for sure. Some of the challenges, it can be quitting too soon or compromising on principles and not quitting soon enough. There can be a belief that we need to be obeyed and we are exerting power over other people sometimes with this gate. Sometimes there's a belief that your needs are more important than other people's needs. And there can also be a tendency to reject people who aren't like us, whatever that means to you, whoever you are, whatever us means to you. There can be a tendency to reject people who are different. This is also nicknamed the divorce gate. And again, for that exact reason, because when the principles in a relationship are violated, it's like game over, I'm out. In the high expression, these are people that know right timing. They have clarity to bring change. They know their boundaries. They communicate their boundaries. They stand their ground. They stay true to their principles and they inspire other people to create higher principles for themselves. They respect their authority, especially if it's emotional. And they really allow for personal transformation, personal revolution, as well as revolution in like a tribal capacity as well when it's the right time, and allows for meaningful, intimate connections. They can be leaders in revolutionizing how we relate to and how we love each other. So a lot of cool high expressions there. Okay, the next one that we are looking at is going to be gate 37. So gate 37 is up here on the other side of the emotional solar plexus, reaching towards the heart center with gate 40. And gate 37 is often called the gate of friendship. I like to call it the gate of harmony because I think it gives us a little bit more nuanced. Yeah, I don't know. I just like to, I like to find words for the gates that make sense to me. I haven't done this with all of them, but it's something I really recommend that you do when you're learning the gates. If you're like, I don't understand why this gate is called this, one, probably learn that because there's a reason for it. But if that still doesn't to you really capture the essence of it, give it a name that does. So like I said, for 37, I prefer to say harmony rather than friendship or whatever, or I don't know, community, whatever other names people want. Find a name that makes the most sense to you, that helps you, that's like a, a key or like an activation to your brain to unlock what the gate is about. Um, okay. Gate 37, they are designed for peace, harmony, and friendship. They will make bargains and agreements to keep the peace. They want friendship and community as long as it's peaceful. They like to welcome outsiders into the community. They are here to hold communities together with friendliness and warmth. This is like a warm, friendly energy. People like people who have this energy. When we have harmony and we work together, we have the resources we need, like food, to sustain tribal peace. So the harmony is not just like harmony in the tribe, but harmony like outside, that peace that we want. Um, with this, touch is important with this gate. So oftentimes like a handshake deal, a touch on the arm, a touch on the shoulder, which, during these times when people are staying a little further apart, it can be tricky with a gate 37. Um, and interestingly enough, this gate is often associated with a fear. So let me go on to hold on, let me pause on that. I'll come back. One last piece about this is it's also very much about harmony, inner harmony, right? So it's not just about harmony outside of yourself, but it's cultivating that harmony or that peace inside yourself as well. So meditation, managing your stress, cultivating that inner peace, however you need to do that, are important for this energy. So the challenge is, like I said, there's always fears with the solar plexus gates. And here there's a fear of tradition. So these are people that often don't want traditional roles, that don't want a traditional life. Often they don't want kids, they don't want a regular job, they don't want to live in the regular thing, they don't want to do what their parents did. Now, it doesn't mean that's going to be true for everybody, but often this happens. These are people that can sometimes be the opposite of peaceful. So they can be revengeful, they can be vindictive in the challenging expression. They can really be looking for peace outside of themselves, trying to manage circumstances outside of themselves to create peace instead of cultivating that inner peace. They can sometimes be a doormat or a people pleaser to create harmony or to create peace, where they don't speak up because they don't want to disrupt the harmony. And in the high expression, these are people that are potentials that have potential to be creators of peace in the world. They can cultivate that sense of inner peace and really broadcast that to other people. They can share peace, they can teach peace, and they can really create communities that have that sustainable level of harmony as well. So our next gate, we're looking at gate 40 on the other side here in the will center. And gate 40 is often called the gate of aloneness. So it doesn't mean that you're designed to be alone when you have the gate 40, but you are the aloneness of the gate 40. The purpose there is really to drive you to create connections and to create community. So it's like the contrast of aloneness drives you to create community. Aloneness is a catalyst for community. It's a catalyst for connection. And it's not personal. It's an energy that's here to drive you for that connection. There's also a drive here to create new agreements and new bargains for the tribe, right? It's part of the channel of the bargaining or the channel of bargaining. There is willpower here with it being in the will center or the heart center to provide for those in the tribe in exchange for appreciating you, feeding you, paying you money, giving you time alone to rest. So yes, this is the gate of aloneness. Time alone is really important to you. The other gates of aloneness are gates 33, gate 12, and gate 43. So we have 4 gates of aloneness. If you have them all, you probably need a lot of alone time. But even if you just have one of them, alone time is really important. It's a big part of your process in life. And this gate can be a hero sometimes. It likes to be a hero. It likes to save the day. It likes to solve other people's problems. It enjoys supporting other people. And some of the challenges with this gate is being a hero, right? It's doing that too much. It's burning yourself out, overly caring for other people. It's putting yourself in the back burner because it's interesting because the hero thing, it's helping people, but it's like usually from an ego-based place. Anyways, goods and bads with that. This gate can also be very defiant. So that can be a strength, but it can also be a challenge, right? Where it's like you just are defiant to everything. Like if someone has a suggestion, you say no. If someone recommends doing this, you're like, I will not. Even if it's something that's really good. And sometimes you can be really defiant to your own self. Another challenge here, again, with the aloneness is feeling lonely, even when you're surrounded by people who love you. And Karen Curry, I really like what she says about this gate, where she talks about People with this gate will literally be on like a pedestal in the middle of a room at a party that's being thrown for them. Everyone's praising them and like, so happy and celebrating them, and they feel so alone. And it's like that's an experience that happens sometimes with this. And it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong or that you're bad. It's just an energy that's there. Um, there's a love of work associated with this channel. So there's a challenge sometimes of burning out because you're working too hard. So having that balance and knowing when to rest. In the high expression, the Gate 40 creates new agreements for the community to sustain peace and to evolve the tribe. It's here to change the way that we see and interact in communities. It knows when to take time alone to replenish your willpower, and it knows the right time and the right tribe to care for and to share its resources with. So that's the Gate 40. The next gate that we're talking about, I forget where I'm going next. Maybe Gate 54? Yeah. The next one we're going to talk about is Gate 54. Oh my gosh, 10 minutes left and like 6 gates to get through. Okay, let's go. Let's go. So the Gate 54 is the gate of drive or ambition. So when we're looking at this energy, this is really the energy of someone that is designed to rise up. And when I look at the Gate 54, I look at that rising up or that achievement in sort of 3 main areas. So one is business success, one is social success, and one is sort of spiritual success. That's a weird way of putting it, or spiritual transcendence. These are people that are driven to transform the material status of the tribe. They're driven to transform the social status. They're driven to transform spiritually, right? So they're driven to transform with this energy. I see this energy all the time in lawyers because you have to be so driven to do that. But it really is that driven, ambitious energy. They will work incredibly hard until they succeed at something, but it's not always the right thing for them. These are often people that have big ideas with business, with life, where it's like the sky is the limit. They think big, right? Challenges here. They work incredibly hard and burn out. They work incredibly hard at the wrong thing. With their interest in sort of climbing status, whether it's career, social, often they do things that aren't aligned to climb that status. So again, like I said, I know a lot of lawyers who have it, and I know a lot of lawyers who are miserable and have left being lawyers because they did it for the status. They did it because they thought it was prestigious. And then they did it and they're like, this sucks. I hate my life. And they do something completely different. So you want to be careful with this energy that it's not just blind ambition, chasing empty goals, right? Another challenge here is just the constant pressure to be doing, especially if you have this on an open root center. In the high expression, this is someone that is exceptionally ambitious. They use its drive to initiate in business, in spiritually, in community, in social areas. It knows the value of waiting for recognition and for right timing. It lets these ideas simmer until the timing is right. It doesn't just, again, have this blind action and need to go all the time. They have a deep respect, going back to this idea of divine timing, of right timing. They can also be really great business coaches or coaches that help sort of other people to bring their ambitions to life. So it could be spiritual, it could be social, it could be business, whatever. But they understand correct action and correct timing. Okay, the next one that we're going to look at is the Gate 32. So on the opposite here on the spleen center, the Gate 32, the gate of enduring. And when we're looking at the gate of enduring, it is very much a big business idea gate. So we haven't talked about Gate 11 yet, but often Gate 11 is the gate that's associated with having so many ideas in human design. 32 is also that. So 32 is designed to provide the continuity or the endurance kind of necessary to achieve big goals. It can adapt and transform while it stays true to its nature. And it has the intuition, being a splenic gate, to know which big idea will be successful. It has the endurance that's needed to wait for the recognition for the idea. And it can really be unshakable in your ability to like weather whatever storm comes by when you know something is going to be right and is going to be successful. It's not necessarily here to do the big ideas, but to find them and to help bring them out in others. So you're really optimized for growth and transformation when the time is right to bring that to others. And again, this is splenic. So the right timing is everything. If the timing is off, nothing is going to work. So forcing things is just a recipe for burnout because you're not going to get anywhere with force. As the splenic gates all have fears, some of the challenges that we're looking at here is a fear of failure. Um, this gate can have a challenge with prolonged indecision. Should it just be conservative and sort of keep with what's working, or should it risk failure and do something transformational? There's a fear that someone will steal their dream or steal their big idea before they get to it. And there's often this pattern of a fear of failure. And because they're afraid of failing, they don't wait for right timing. So they try to force something to happen and then they do fail, which reinforces their fear of failure, right? So the more you can align with right timing, the easier things are going to be. And there's a potential here for bitterness about your big dreams and ideas, and people are going to take them from you, or that they're not working, or that it's easier for other people. Listen, you are here to be successful if you have this gate, especially if you have this whole channel. Right timing. That's what it's about for you. Right timing. Okay. In the high expression, this gate intuitively knows which ideas will be transformational and successful and which ideas to let go of. And it can really sniff out the success in yourself and in other people and sees what ideas can be transformed and expanded. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is gate 44. Gate 44 I have in both of my Plutos. So if you have the gate 44 in your Plutos, then we have birthdays that are within a couple of years of each other probably. So the gate 44, am I sharing my screen? Yeah, I am. So that's a gate 44 on the top of the spleen there. This is called so many different names, and I find none of them are ones that I like. I like to call this the gate of patterns. Technically, human design, they call gate 5 the gate of patterns. Sometimes this is called the gate of energy. Anyways, this is a gate that is designed to have a deep awareness of the past. It remembers how we provided for ourselves materially for survival. It has an alertness to patterns that either serves us or require an update. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more in the challenges. It's not logical energy. We'll talk about logical energy tomorrow, but it has a similar attunement to the past like logic does. Tribal propaganda lives here, where we remember what we remember shapes the tribe. So the stories that we pass on, the things that we say again and again shapes the tribe. And tribal propaganda, like one of the things that I really think about, especially this past year, and this to me is a good example of the low expression of gate 44, is what's happened in Canada and I think in the US with the indigenous populations and the residential schools and the tribal propaganda that our countries were told about how we treated indigenous people and that it was good and it was the best for them and we were doing the right thing. No, we weren't. I can't even go into it because it's so infuriating, but that's tribal propaganda in a very negative way, where it's like we are twisting the truth. We are making the truth look better than what it was. And what we remember, so what we tell about these memories shapes the tribe. You know, generations of people that have been taught in school about, oh, this is what happened. That's not true. Tribal propaganda, right? Lives in this gate. Which interestingly enough, like I said, this gate was in Pluto when I was born. So I'm 33 now. So if you're around 33, you'll have that in your Plutos as well. So generationally, my generation is growing up and it's like, this is some bullshit, you know, this tribal propaganda, so there's a lot of that that's happening with a lot of things right now. We're calling bullshit on a lot of things, right? This gate's also associated in a completely different way, but also similar, with marketing, with being the greeter, with being the hostess. It likes to bring people in and meet them and welcome them. And also, again, that tribal propaganda piece where it shapes what people think when they bring people in and welcome them, right? When we look at the next gate, it's more about sales, but this is the energy of setting the person up or paving the way. So again, that kind of like propaganda or that sharing things. It's very much about presentation, about making things look nice, you know, whether it comes to marketing materials or whether it comes from sort of turning shit into gold, of like looking at things that happened in the past and making them look better. Sometimes this is a useful thing to do, and sometimes this is a really harmful thing to do, right? In terms of making things look better than they are. Challenges here, it's a splenic gate. So we have a fear of the past repeating itself. And oh my gosh, I could talk about this gate for so long, but I'm just going to go on. Bringing your past into your future, attempting to recreate positive moments from the past. It can really limit your current and future self because of your stories from the past. So it really can be an energy with strong limiting beliefs from the past. And it can also have a fear of lack of resources because it's this idea that when we have hard times, it's hard to survive. So it's really afraid of that. In the high expression, these are people that are gifted at healing the past. Once they've healed their own path, they can help guide others. They can be exceptional at presentation, marketing, making things look nice, creating a beautiful exterior, branding, packaging, and help others to learn from the past as well. Okay, we have 3 gates left. I think we can do this. I'm going to go a little bit over time, but that's okay. Um, so the next gate that we're going to look at is gate 26. So this is the other half here of the channel of transmission, gate 26. I like to call this the gate of integrity. That is something that I learned from Karen Curry. I love how she looks at this gate. You can see I mentioned her so much. I love her. I think she's just so wonderful. I also like to learn from other sources because I believe that makes you more well-rounded, but I do like a lot of the stuff she does. So this is the gate of the egoist, of the trickster, of the salesperson, of the manipulator, of integrity. And this is someone that is designed to sell the dream, not necessarily fulfill it, and to transmit the truth or not. So these are people that can be master manipulators in the low expression, and in the high expression, they can really transmit truth on a large scale. They often are people who are looking at the past and sharing about the past as well. So like photographers, documentarians, biographers, authors, teachers. When it comes to sales, which I find sometimes people just overemphasize the sales aspect of this, to me, this has very little to do with actual sales. But anyways, I won't get into it. Everything that the 26 transmits has the potential to be a resource. So this is very much resource energy in terms of money. This gate wants money, okay? If it's telling you something, it's doing it for money. And even for me, like, yes, I'm sharing this with you for free, and I run a business. So I also do have paid things. We'll get to the gate 45, which is me sharing the free stuff in a second. They can be quite self-centered with this energy. It can have willpower to do whatever needs to be done for the tribe. And in the high expression, you're built to be okay with the rejection that's naturally going to be a part of sales. And like I said, I don't necessarily mean sales. I mean selling ideas. I mean selling the truth, right? We're not necessarily talking about I'm selling you a vacuum cleaner or something. Challenges here is a lack of integrity and learning how to be in integrity. Now is not the time, but if you know me, you've heard some of my stories about my lack of integrity, okay? Like I used to, oh my gosh, my whole life was out of integrity, okay? I used to have like $25,000 in credit card debt that my husband didn't know about. I like did all this stuff. So it's just, I used to be very out of integrity, and restoring integrity has been such a massive part of my transformation in my life. I have this in my conscious earth. So it's a big part of my design. It can be manipulative. It can be a liar, especially if it's paired with gate 4. It's not technically a fear gate, but I find that this gate often does have a fear of sales or a fear of manipulating people. And again, really being in integrity. The more that you can be in integrity, the better everything in your design will go with this. Integrity in finances, integrity with your word, integrity with your body, just integrity everywhere, okay? Learn to only make promises that you can fulfill. Sometimes this likes to overpromise and then it can't fulfill it. And then again, that integrity falls out. In the high expression, these people have exceptional integrity. They are a person of their word. Their word means something. They work to rest, and they have a healthy balance between work and rest. They can transmit and share truth for the betterment of the tribe. They can be exceptional salespeople in integrity. They're here to share truth for the material success and gain of the tribe. And they are well compensated for the work that they do. They're not doing it for free. Okay, the next one, oh my gosh, only 2 gates left. Okay, we can do this. We can do this. So the gate 21, like how I'm giving myself like a pep talk in front of all you guys to get through this in time. The gate 21 here, coming off the top of the heart center. This is the gate of control. And so the gate 21, it wants to control the resources, and it is designed to manage the resources for the tribe. So it's literally like the accountant. It also, interestingly, something I read about this recently is it can be good at being a nutritionist, or it can be helpful to hire a nutritionist, as well as it is to hire an accountant with the gate 21, because they're designed to manage the resources, food being one of those resources. Just an interesting tidbit. So the 21 is here to manage resources so that you and the tribe are taken care of. It's kind of this idea of like knowing that there's a long winter ahead and we need to manage our resources, we need to manage our food so that we have everything that we need to successfully survive the winter, right? It likes to be in control of everything. And this is where you really want to be mindful of this. Control is a big challenge for this because it wants to control people, it wants to control everything. And learning what you can control and what is correct for you to control is important because you're really not here to be controlling of other people. That's not where your control is meant. They can be overly materialistic sometimes. Again, looking at some of the challenges, they generally don't like being told what to do. Don't try to micromanage them, not going to work. They like to make decisions. It's difficult to let other people be in charge. You know, if you're taking a road trip, they're the one driving the car. I mean, they might not actually like driving, but in that kind of archetype of things. Um, and there can be a lack mentality here. So this fear that there isn't enough or that you aren't enough or that there won't be enough, right? In the high expression, these people thrive when they're in control and able to manage their resources, their environment, what they do, how they do it, etc. They're exceptional at managing the resources of others when they are invited. Okay. This is not for you to just go and manage everything for everyone else. People need to ask you to manage. You can't just impose your management. That doesn't work. They take very good care of their resources and their possessions in the high expression. They make sure that their tribe, their people are taken care of. They create an environment that supports you. And in the highest expression of control is really surrender and trust, letting go of the ego, it's serving the tribe, surrendering. Okay. And then the very last gate that we're going to look at today is the gate 45. So this is the gate of what I like to call the king, queen, or non-binary ruler supreme. So the gate of the ruler, and it really is here about leadership and ruling. This is the gate that I have in my conscious sun. So I have the cross of rulership. It's really natural leadership. It's not forced. It's what's best for the tribe is also best for you. And these are people that are designed to take care of their people. They're designed to take care of their tribe and make sure their tribe has resources, which is exactly what I'm doing here, right? I'm sharing resources with my people. You're my people. Resources can be money, it can be ideas, it can be information, it can be things, it can be connections, whatever. This is an energy that's not here to work. It's really here to be the ruler, to be supported. So it's not here to work in the way that we traditionally look at working. It's here to be supported by like the taxes of the kingdom kind of thing, right? That's how it wants to be supported anyways. It works best with the gate 45 if you have someone else to manage the resources. So the gate 45 and the gate 21 together in a channel can be a really good pair. It can also be a tricky one though. Challenges here, it can be the spender of resources and have a very difficult time managing them. It's not always a fan of putting aside resources. It wants to spend them now. Sometimes it can be a diva, right? It has that sort of royal energy to it where it thinks it's the king or the queen. It thinks it's the ruler. There's big potentials here for money issues if you don't know how to manage money well. Sometimes it can be controlling or it can have issues with control. There are often lessons here that life is easier when you have more freedom when you can manage your resources. So you're not constantly scrambling to make resources, right? There's a big lesson for this gate here. There can be issues here with self-worth, with lack mentality, with being selfish, using your resources selfishly. And there's often challenges with learning to be a leader. People with this often avoid it, or they try to force it, or they try to control other people. So those can all be challenges. In the high expression, this is natural leadership and influence for the benefit of the tribe. It shares resources and it brings people together. They know how to take care of their people with the resources that they have. They generously share resources for the benefit of everyone without being self-sacrificing. They take proper care of their resources. They inspire leadership. They can be exceptional teachers, sharing lessons and knowledge. And there's potential for creating wealth that's not related to hard work. Like I said, these are not people designed for hard work. And in the highest expression, again, transcending the ego and leading in a way that serves others. So those are the tribal gates. We got through them all, 10 minutes late. That's okay. So these are all the tribal gates. I would love to see in the Facebook group if you have any takeaways, if you have any of these gates, if you relate to any of these things, what you feel about the tribal circuitry. If you have a lot of tribal energy, let me know. Like I said, I don't know a lot of people who do, and I'm one of them. So let me know in the Facebook group how it's all going. I will see you all tomorrow at the same time. We're going to do the collective. I'm not sure. Tomorrow is either going to be a little bit longer. So tomorrow might be an hour and a half because there's a lot of collective gates, or I might split it and do some of them on Thursday. But then on Thursday, I don't know, we're going to run out of time then on Thursday. So we'll see. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate all of you and for sharing your energy and for seeing your beautiful faces. Have a wonderful day, evening, afternoon, whatever it is where you are. I will upload the replay later tonight, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.